Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new episode of Stand Up, Sit Down. On today's show, I had the hilarious Alonzo Bodden. Stay tuned.
You are now tuned in to Black Hollywood Live. Stand up, sit down.
There it is. You know, this is kind of like the Cosby intro a little bit.
Yeah, a little, although you can't say that anymore. Like you can't, Nick, don't throw me under the bus. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Marcus Miller playing bass. It has nothing to do with Cosby. Come on, Nick. You got him. Oh, he's what? We hate him already. Come on,
my
man.
Goodness. Alonzo, how are you, man?
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
Good, man. Good to see you. I
Good.
feel like
You
I haven't
too.
seen you in a while.
Well, you know, I go on these road runs, right? I still grind the roads, so then I just won't be working around town for a month or a month and a half, and then I come back and bang out spots in town, then I'm on the road again. So yeah, I still make my living primarily on the road. Like I've yet to get anything that sticks. You know, I've had my fair share of shots on TV.
Yeah.
I've never made season 2. I'm always like, what's it like to be on season 2? I remember I asked Aisha Tyler once, because Aisha, you know, she scores big hits. And I was like, what's it like on season 2? She said, it gets good. She was like, if you ever make it, it gets good.
Yeah,
you know,
season 3 and season 4. And
she does like money. Season 8, you know.
Yeah.
Good for her.
And because she's smart, she got on the Talk, and that's on CBS, you know,
Yeah.
and
Julie, she got
Julie
Archer,
Shannon, that's right.
You know? She's doing great. Enough about her.
So let's get into it for people who have no idea who you are, and
Fair
for
enough.
the fans who really love you. We're gonna go all the way back. We're going all the way
Let's
back
do it.
to New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So now here's the thing about New York. I grew up in New York. I grew up in Queens. I came to LA with aerospace. I used to work at Lockheed Aircraft in Burbank. But so my comedy career has been entirely LA based.
Okay.
I tell people I started doing comedy in LA because I didn't know I wasn't supposed to. You know what I mean? Because you're like supposed to start somewhere else and get. But I love the fact I started in LA because you're around the best right from the start, so you work harder. You know what I mean? When you're doing, even doing open mics and stuff. Like I remember in my open mic days, we used to do shows. There was a woman named Victoria Dushoff. And she used to book shows in hotel bars, like you'd be at the Holiday Inn by the airport, in the bar or whatever. And I remember one time Shang came in, Shang Forbes, blew my mind. Like I was like, wow. And I learned so much because then like, okay, now that's the bar. Like he was just dropping in on an open mic thing, but it was like, oh, so you got to be that good. And then I remember when I started at the Laugh Factory, I went and did their open mic, right? You wait in line all day to do 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You know how it is.
Yeah.
Jamie hired me to be a doorman because he needed a doorman. And he said, when people don't show up, you can do a spot, you know, which was great. And this was 93. So I would watch, like this is when Damon Wayans would come in all the time and work on stuff, and George Wallace would come in all the time, and Dom Herrera. So I was just watching these masters work. So it was like a great education that had I started in Iowa,
You wouldn't have got that.
Yeah, wouldn't have got it. I mean, you become the funniest guy in Iowa, then you move to L.A. or now New York, and you start over again. So I missed the part of trying to be the funniest guy, you know, in Iowa or wherever. So, growing up in New York was a great education unto itself. Yeah. And what's interesting, but the funny thing about New York, especially where I grew up in Southeast Queens, name a rap star, LL Cool J, Tribe Called Quest, Ed Lover, all of these from my neighborhood, from my little area in Southeast Queens. And I told Mom, I said, see, you made me stay in school. Had you let me hang out on the corner and rap, we could have made some money.
Yeah. Driving Bentleys, having houses on both coasts. That's funny. So what was the first time that you ever like did like an actual, like not like an open mic, but like an actual show? What was that first show like?
Well, see, the first show I did, I kind of did it and then fell back, right? So the first, I took a comedy writing class because I was working in aerospace. I was teaching people, airplane mechanics, making them laugh, but I didn't know how to write comedy material, right? So I took this writing class. So the graduation, we had like 200 people there. There were like 10 of us. Everybody brings friends, blah, blah, blah. Right. So it was like a show, and it was like, oh, this is what it's like. Then you leave that and you're like, oh, that ain't what it's like, you know? Yeah. So let's see, the first show after that I remember, there was a guy named Tyler Horn who asked me to open for him, and it was funny. He said, you could do 15, right? I'm like, yeah. I had like 6, so I was like, I'm gonna write 9 tonight. But yeah, we went and did one of these little, road gigs like Bakersfield or something like that, and that was the first time it was like, yeah, I'm doing a show. That was fun.
How did it go?
It went good. It went good. Nick, I was lucky. I was funny from the start. Like I could always get not obviously not killing, and you become much better, but I knew guys back then and when I was in the open mic circuit who wouldn't get laughs, and I almost admired them because they stuck with it, and some of them figured it out and become big stars since. But at that time they were, and like Johnny Sanchez always said, he's like, yeah, you were funny even then. You had it. And so it was good, man. But the learning was always watching. I used to watch the Masters. I spent a summer opening for Tommy Davidson, and this is early. Like I'm only doing comedy for a year, right? And I knew Tommy. Was it through the Laugh Factory? No. I just knew Tommy because interacting just in life, right? He lived in the Valley. I lived in the Valley. We crossed paths. So he was doing a show, and I said, hey man, can I come to I just wanted tickets, you know what I mean? I just wanted to hang out. He said, you want to open? And I was like, yeah. Now mind you, I only been doing comedy for like a year, right? I got like a solid 10 minutes, whatever you had. So I opened the show for him, and then they had this woman in the middle, and she was like bombing. So they were like, get back out there. So now I go back out. Now I'm just doing crowd work, right? I would always get in situations that were over my head because I didn't know any better, So it went okay. So Tommy's manager said, hey, you want to open for Tommy on some of these gigs? And I went out with Tommy, and I was doing these. This was after his In Living Color days. This is right at the end of In Living Color. So Tommy's a big star. And I was learning, watching him every night, and I was doing. So I'd do my 10 or 15, then I'd watch him do an hour, and it was an education, but it opened doors early. Like I did. It was called the Apollo Comedy Hour, and I had only been doing comedy like 2 years, and I'm at the Apollo, and it was a trip because when I got to New York, this is '95. Def Jam is huge, right? I'm not a Def Jam comic. I'm clean. We describe it the angry suburban Negro. You know what I mean? I'm not from the hood, and I can't pretend to be from the hood because people know. So I'm like doing what I do. So I go to New York, and there was my brother loves this story, right? Because he'll always remember it. There was a club right near my house. It was called the the Proper. It was called Manhattan Proper. We go in there. The New York comics are great. They know I'm there to do the Apollo. They're like, we're going to take you around, get you some spots, get you ready. I go to Manhattan Proper. I'm trying to do a 5-minute clean set because the Apollo's on late night TV in a Def Jam room. Nick, they didn't just boo me off stage. They booed me out of the door onto Linden Boulevard. They followed me to make sure I left. It was, but I went to the Apollo, right? And I never forget the opening joke because it killed. Now the Apollo Comedy Hour, they used to have they'd have music and then a comic, music and a comic. And have you done the Apollo? No. Okay, so with the Apollo, you're waiting in the green room, which is the basement, which is like a bullpen, and they're coming to the top of the stairs, and they're like, "Nick, you're up." Alonzo, that's all the prep you get, right? Oh my goodness! So I went out. Biggie had been on. This is like I said, it was like '95, and I opened up. I said, "Man, I was born in New York. I live in L.A. If I was a rapper, I have to shoot myself." And the crowd was and I was like, because they told you, they said you got 30 seconds. They said if they don't laugh in 30 seconds, your ass is done. But they laughed at the first joke, right? It was the second time I got to go to the Apollo that I got to enjoy it. The first time you do the Apollo, you're so nervous, you don't even know where you're at. You know what I mean? You're like, just don't kill me. Don't kill him. But it was great. It went great. So early in my career, I was lucky because like I said, I just happened to fall into place to learn from guys who were just great comics, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because you mentioned getting booed.
Oh, yeah.
And because we know everybody bombs. But I mean, but like were your jokes still like getting laughs? They were just getting boos in that particular room?
You know, yeah, they would get laughs, but there were times when I would completely miss it, you know. And again, like all of my early stories are big comedy stars who helped me, right? So, again, this is the Def Jam era. This is early mid '90s, and I'm the black comic who is mainstream. I'm talking about because that's just who I am, you know.
Right.
So it was some show in L.A. and I'm getting killed. They're yelling prison shit at me, like they're yelling prison references, and fortunately I don't know those, you know. But anyway, two brothers, Speedy was there. I don't know if you know Speedy and Cedric, the entertainer, and they said, "Look, man, don't worry about that." They said they would love to do what you do. Yeah. They were like, they'll catch up to you. Do what you do. And it made such a big difference because when you're new, you have no confidence. So to have guys who are great comics tell you, no, you do what you do. Don't worry about them. They were like, you ain't trying to go to the ghetto. The ghetto's trying to go to Hollywood, you know. And this time I had that little gig at the Laugh Factory and stuff. So it was just different worlds. But I was fortunate that these guys boosted my confidence to keep doing what I do, you know. And it worked.
Yeah. How do you handle hecklers? Because, you know, everybody gets them.
Yeah. You know, I used to practice by going places where you get heckled. We used to do these rooms in L.A. and East L.A. where they would just heckle you all the time. And you just learn to not think. You just respond. You just, you know, you learn over time, like you have the power of the microphone. And plus, you're a comic. Your brain is quicker than them. Right. Like my brain works quicker than a drunk. So you just hit them back with anything that you see about them or what, you know what I mean? You just, whatever you say in the moment is going to be funnier. Right. And you develop a confidence, and then you learn things like never let them see you're mad, even if you are mad, you know. And the big thing came up when with Kramer, right? When Kramer called a guy a nigger, the thing about that was, if that's not in you, you don't go there. Right. You know, I might be heckled by a Mexican guy or by a white guy, but I'm not going to race right away. Right. You know what I mean? Like, you don't do that unless it's in you. Right. The thing about, I think, hitting back hecklers, you learn over time how hard to hit. You don't want to hit too hard right away because then the crowd's like, damn, that was unnecessary, you know, but you want to hit hard enough to let them know. So, and then it just got to a point where I just tell them, like, look, I do this every day. Like, when I'm done with you, you're going to have a new name that all your friends remember, and you know, this is not going to end well for you. So if you want, we could do it. But just keep in mind, I do it for a living. You just drunk on Friday. Right. You know? Right.
You still have a life that you need to go back to.
Yeah. But, you know, it's part of the thing. And then you get the idiots who think they're helping and stuff like that. But it is what it is. Right now, I mean, last night I was at the Laugh Factory, and there were these 4 Trump supporters in the front row, and they were pissing people off. And they annoyed me, but one comic, they completely threw off his set because he was mad, and he was engaging them too much. You know what I mean? You learn over time not to give them your power. Right. So,
I mean, you know, and because I know that there are comics that just go out and just do crowd work and just start talking about people. But then there's other comics that I'm like, I'm not going to say anything unless you're like an asshole and you're messing with everybody. You know, you get in there, tap them a couple times, and then go about your set.
And some sets I do all crowd work, you know, because it's just a creative exercise for me. It's fun. But as you build your brand, when people start coming out to see you, they want to hear what you have to say. Yeah. You know, they don't want to hear you make fun of this fat guy or the dumb guy or the you know, or the girl or whatever, you know. They want to hear what you have to say. So that's when you have to learn how much time to waste on hecklers. But some shows, it's just from a creative standpoint, it's fun. Not so much picking on people, but I like talking to people and taking what they say and seeing what I can do with it. You know, that's an exercise for me.
Yeah. What is your joke writing process like?
Something strikes me as funny, and I write it down, and then I start talking about it on stage, and sometimes one joke leads to another. Sometimes they come out, and I hit it the first time. Other times it's an idea that keeps growing, and I keep going back to. In the past year and a half, I've started doing it all on my iPhone in notes, where I used to write it out. You know, it's still better to write it out to get it in my mind, but now I just like putting the notes in. And the nice thing about using a phone or a computer is then you can call everything by a keyword. You know, like you want to talk about, if you want to talk about, you know, Nebraska, then you just search Nebraska and you find every joke you ever mentioned Nebraska. So that part is nice. But yeah, it's a continual thing with me. I'm always changing my set. There's always something new to work on. The bad thing is that I'm always so anxious to go to the next thing, I don't fully develop the prior idea. You know, so, but that's just how I've been. My favorite joke is always my newest one. But
do you throw any jokes away?
I stopped doing them because I like doing topical stuff. So some things go away with time, and then they come back. I'll give you an example. I had a whole bit about Ben Carson, right? That I did for the first 6 months of the year. Then he was gone because he was gone. Now he's back. So now I can do that bit again. You know, I had a Darryl Strawberry bit in the 90s that Darryl was kind enough to bring back every 2 years. You know, every couple of years, Darryl would say, yeah, let me do some crack, some cocaine, get suspended again. I was like, thanks, Darryl. I can rewrite those jokes, you know. And then other things, I have another thing that grows I have a bit, I love the Olympics, and I have jokes about the Olympics. And every 4 years, I pull them out and then add more because there's, you know, and I like doing that. So do I ever throw a joke out? Yeah, sometimes a joke just doesn't work and I can't make it work. I don't know if I throw it out or forget about it. And then sometimes I'll forget about it, and then I'll look at it a year and a half later and be like, that's funny.
Yeah, you're like,
and then somehow I make it work, you know? Yeah.
Are there any jokes that are off limits to you?
I can't make fun of someone I truly don't like.
Okay.
If I truly don't like you or don't understand you, I can't write a joke about you. And the person who frustrated me with that was Condoleezza Rice during the Bush administration. I couldn't figure out, because it wasn't like making fun of Bush or like, you know, Bush being an idiot or Cheney being evil, or even, you know, Colin Powell being the brother who just got caught in the wrong situation, who was like, wait a minute, I didn't mean to be here. You know, like you could always make... This woman, highly educated, intelligent woman, who grew up, I think, in Alabama, somewhere in the South. I want to say in segregated Alabama, and she's right-wing supporting the white, you know, racist, and I could never make it work in my head. So I couldn't figure out how to make a joke about it, because you can't joke about her being stupid, because she's not.
No, she's a very intelligent woman.
You know, but she wasn't even, it wasn't even like, not that I would use the reference, but it wasn't even like an Uncle Tom situation, or like you know, like a Herman Cain, who, you know, you're a puppet, like they're using you. She wasn't that. I could never figure out how to write a Condoleezza Rice joke. Just had nothing. And I don't make jokes about Michelle Obama because I'm scared of her, as she might find out, and I don't need no trouble.
I mean, but you know, I think she's also like just the type that you can't. And
but
like,
you can,
not even because you don't want trouble. I feel like you just can't.
Yeah, you know, the thing that's funny about Michelle Obama is the fact people don't mess with Michelle Obama. Like that's where the jokes come in. Not so much about her, but about the respect she gets. Because they tried, right, when Barack Obama first got elected, like the right wing and Fox News and all them, they tried to go in on Michelle, and basically Michelle was like, I ain't having it, and they were like, she ain't having it, she ain't having it. We ain't
you can't do that.
we can talk about Barack all day, she ain't having it, you know, and they stopped, you know, it was a so that became the joke.
Would you ever apologize for something that you said on stage?
Ah, man.
Because like, you have a brand, you know, and you know, there's a lot attached to your name.
I don't know if I would apologize. There are situations where, you know, we talk about the freedom of speech and the art and stuff, right? But there's also the business. So there are certain situations, like if I'm doing a corporate gig, I'm not going to go heavy political. because it becomes awkward. I do these entertainment cruises, right? Smooth jazz cruise, love these gigs, love the people, but these people are on vacation in the Caribbean, so I'm not going to go heavy race.
Right.
I may joke about it a little, but I'm not going to go heavy to where where any part of the crowd feels ostracized, you know, because they didn't come there for that. That's the beauty of a comedy club. When you come to a comedy club, now this is my world. Now I can say whatever I want. But when you're hired in those certain situations, I wouldn't do it. So if I ever had to apologize, it would probably be because I was in one of those situations and I went too far for that room. But just in general, no, I don't think I would. I've never had that situation. I had a situation years ago. I was doing a show at the Palms, and I made fun of the Palms, and I made fun of the Maloofs, and I made fun of the Sacramento Kings, and one of the Maloofs was at the show, and he had me kicked out of the hotel. It was like a movie. Like, I came off stage, there were 3 guys in suits, like, we're going to escort you to your room, you're going to pack up your stuff, and you're going to leave the premises.
Did you get paid?
And I got paid for one show. I had 2 shows. I got paid for one. But this is what I said about it. Like, people were talking about freedom of speech. And I said, no, it's not freedom of speech, because it's their hotel, and they have the right to kick me out if they don't like what I said. But to me, the punk move was they didn't tell the second show why I wasn't there. It's like, no, you tell them that you didn't, you kicked me out. Don't like Alonzo would say, don't make it like me.
Right.
Now, in old Vegas, they would have just taken me out back, beat my ass, and brought me back for the second show. Right. In old Vegas, they'd have been, oh, you going back out there, but you're going to learn a lesson first, which I would have respected more. But that was, a lot of people were like, oh, that's freedom of speech. And it's not freedom of speech. The thing about freedom of speech is there's a responsibility. So you can say whatever you want, but if there's a penalty for what you said, you have to be willing to accept the penalty, So
are you banned from the Palms, or can you
I was banned. They're gone now. They no longer own it. But there was a period I was banned, but I didn't really care. You know, it's not like look, Nick, I'm a little old to be running around chasing people from the real world or trying to get to a rooftop pool party at the Palms. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's what I joked about, because they had this thing of we're so hip and we're so cool, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm not 23. I'm just here to do a gig, because they said, we don't have a room for you here, but we got, I know, do you have a reservation? And I was like, no, I have a billboard. Look behind you. Look behind, how the flashing bill, see that? Yeah, that's me. That's my reservation, and they're like, well, we don't have a room. I was like, we'll put you up at the Rio. I was like, I'm not going to be funny at the Rio. I'm supposed to be here. So that's what started it, and it kind of pissed me off, and I went off on stage, and they laughed, Another time that I got in trouble was I used to be with William Morris a long time ago. So I was making fun of William Morris, and my agents were in the audience, right? Because they were sweating me over $100 commission. So I said, look, I'm not going to mention the agency, but they're on William Morris Boulevard. And I said, and if you have a street named after you in Beverly Hills, my $100 probably ain't putting you over the top. Right. So the next morning I got an email from my manager, and she said, there's 2 times your name has been on every desk at William Morris. When they signed you in Montreal, and this morning when they dropped you for that joke last night. And all I asked her, I said, was it funny? She said it was hilarious. I'm like, we're good. Yeah. If it's funny, you take the hit.
Yeah. That was and that's the biggest thing too, because I feel like if you believe in it and it's funny, roll with it.
Right. And some comics do it. They go to the extreme just for the sake of going to the extreme. Yeah. I'm not into that, but I'm not knocking them for doing it. Right. But sometimes that's just a cheap shot, So.
And there's other agencies.
Oh yeah, I wasn't even. Believe me, William Morris. It wasn't. If I was making money for them, they'd have been sitting there laughing too. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Kevin Hart can make fun of his agent every day. Yeah. And his agent is like, that Kevin's hilarious. That Kevin. Remember Kevin said, I ain't shit. I love Kevin. Because Kevin's agent is making big money. Yeah.
That's all. A brand new car.
Right. The business side is just that. It's business.
So let's talk Last Comic Standing.
Yes, sir. And,
I think this was probably like a real staple, because that's when I was introduced to Alonzo Bodden.
Yeah, that was, I described that as my introduction to America.
Yeah.
Like my comedy career started at Just for Laughs in Montreal in 1997. I did New Faces. It blew up for me, and that's when I became a full-time comic. Gave up the day job, blah blah blah.
Right.
Years later, 5-6 years later, I do Last Comic Standing, and yeah, absolutely my introduction to America. It was, for me, it was a great experience. It was a lot of fun, and it brought back something, and even with you, I'm one of the old guys now, right? And I'm cool with that, but when I started, George Wallace was my mentor.
Yep.
And I remember George saying, he said, everyone gets a chance. The key is to be ready when your chance comes. Last Comic was my chance, and I was ready.
Yeah.
When I went in there, I was like, I'm winning this shit. You know what I mean? Like, I was confident, and it was fun. It was a hell of an experience. Being on TV in front of America every week, with them voting for you, is a weird and funny thing. It'd be different now with social media. Like, we joked that when we did it, it took a week to find out if they hate you. Now with Twitter, you find out instantly. Right away, wow, they hate me. But no, it was that was different because it was the very infancy of social media. There was like MySpace back then,
Right.
But it was a fun thing. It was the highest recognition I've ever had in my career, because when I was on the show, it was still a hit show. It's tapered off since, but this was seasons 2 and 3 back then. This was when it peaked. There were millions of people watching. So I would be going through an airport, going to a mall, anywhere I went, people recognized me, which it was cool. I enjoyed that. So it was my introduction to America. I did well. And
So because you were on season 2, right, and then you were also on season 3,
right.
Season 3 was the season that you won.
Yes.
Okay. Season 2, you came runner-up.
I was runner-up.
What was that like? Like, did you feel like you were going to win?
Jokingly, being a runner-up on a reality show is the worst position to be in, because you get to the final episode. There's 3 of us. There's Gary Goldman, there's me, and there's John Heffron, right? So when you come in third, they're like, ladies and gentlemen, Gary Goldman, give him a round of applause, blah, 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 right?
Right.
Then it's just me and John. And now all they say is, and the winner is, right? So then so now I'm just awkwardly standing there like, okay, I got his confetti on me, So I love John. I love Gary, all of us. We were, what you learn on that show, it's not just being the best comic, it's being the best comic that night.
Yeah.
That's what it was about. So I had a set that the week before I had done this set, and it was about the war and Schwarzenegger and Paris Hilton. Like, I tied them on, and the set killed. And Jay Moore said, man, that was the best set I've seen in the whole thing, right? But the following week, Heffron had the killer set. When we didn't get to see each other, we'd be in the basement of the theater, and the other guy would go on, and you would just hear his laughter and applause or whatever as you were going on. But that night when I was watching it on TV and I saw John's set, I said, the girl I was with at the time, I said, he won.
Yeah.
Because I knew he killed me on that set. Over the whole course of the show, who knows if it was a cumulative thing, how it would have worked, but they voted on that night. So I knew he won on that night. But when we went back for season 3, and what had happened was, I think NBC had a hole to fill, because they didn't plan on season 3. But they just said, hey, you guys want to go back on, do the show again? It's going to be season 2 versus season 1, like an all-star show. And I was like, hell yeah, we'll do it. So we all did it. And when I went into that one, I was like, I'm winning this one. And a friend of mine who watched it a ton and who loved reality shows and stuff like that, she said the thing that everyone loved about me was I was doing new material every week. I loved it because it was like we'd be on the road all weekend and something would happen in the news and I would go and I would get to talk about it on TV. People are like, you're crazy. I'm like, what, are you kidding? I get to make fun of this on TV on Tuesday? I loved it. It was like being on a late night TV show,
Yeah, every week.
And it worked. The audiences responded and the voters responded and I won. And when I won, one of the interviewers said to me, "You feel vindicated?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's the feeling," because I felt like I should have won before. And again, no disrespect to John, I just how I felt about me. So when you seldom get a second chance, and when I got the second chance and got to win it, I thought it was great. And then we left the show, and Ralphie May became a millionaire. What the hell?
But then you went back and you judged.
I was a judge for season 5. Right? I told him I did everything on that show except host it and sweep up the stage. Yeah. Those were the only 2 jobs I didn't do. Being a judge was great. That's when I got to be on the other side of the table. When I was doing the show, my goal was always, don't get fired this week. People ask what it's like. This is what it's like. Imagine a job, every Tuesday someone's getting fired. From the very start, when there's 1,000 people auditioning, people are getting fired, to when there's 2 of us, 1 of us get. So my goal was, don't get fired Tuesday. Don't get fired. And then you look up and you're in the finals. Now I'm on the other side of the table, and I'm seeing how many people, because people are like, man, you know how many people you beat out to get here? And it was like, no. But when I was a judge, it was like, yeah, wow, there's a lot of people who tried this thing, you know? And you see a lot of comics, you could almost tell how long they'd been doing comedy by what they talked about. You know, you had like one group that was just, they didn't belong. They were freaks, you know, and they were, there was like, you know, we had porn stars come in, or soap actors, or whatever, you know, or just some open micer who waited in line, and they, you know. Then you had the people who had been doing comedy about 2-3 years. They had a couple of funny jokes, but they weren't ready yet. Then you had the people who were in like the 3 to 5 years. Now they're funny, but they can't sustain, right? Then you had the people, there was two groups that you knew were easy to judge. The freaks who you could throw out right away, and the masters who were like, yeah, you're on, you're in, you know. But then you had the people, the hardest ones were the people who were funny and good enough, but we had to figure out why pick you instead of you. That was really hard, you know. And then the weird thing was a lot of friends auditioning. I had people who I had opened for early in my career now auditioning in front of me, which was just weird. But they were cool about it. They understood that it's TV and it's business.
I mean, you know? I mean, and everyone's journey is different. And
So there were some tough decisions, but overall, it was a good experience. And comics, there were a few comics that were bitter about it, but most of them, they got it. They knew it was like, yeah, it's comedy and it's casting. It's both. But the one thing people insisted that really wasn't true, it's rigged. And it was never rigged, because, and you know, I said, look, I did it and nobody ever tapped me on the shoulder. And the other thing is, NBC had no vested interest in the winner. It wasn't like they were going to give you a sitcom so they wanted this person to win. Like, they didn't care. They just wanted people to watch the show. So they never, you know, it was never rigged. There was some stuff behind the scenes as far as managers poaching acts and stuff like that. That went on, but nothing towards setting up the winner, you know. And there were some great winners. There were some great winners.
Yeah. Now let's talk specials, right? Tall, dark, and funny.
My first. Yes.
When were you like, okay, like I'm ready to do a special?
That was right after Last Comic Standing, and that was basically all the material from Last Comic Standing put together in a 1 hour. So I was ready to do that one. And then
but when you taped it, did you just do one show, or was it like
I taped it 1 hour. Now, I mean, I had done the set before, but I just taped 1 hour. I didn't, you know, doing a TV special, it's expensive and it's hard. So if you have the facilities and the production, then you might do like 3 shows and tape all 3 and edit. But most of them, it's one shot. It's 1 hour, or you might do an hour 20, and then out of that you pull the hour
down.
Because otherwise you have to be able to afford the crew to come out to the theater for 3 nights. You know, which when you're a superstar is easy. But when you're not
a superstar,
it's not.
And then who's paying attention?
My favorite and my best one. And that was another one. I was so ready to do that one. That had been like 5 years after Last Comic. I was a solid topical headliner at that point, because that was a change. After Last Comic, I became much more interested in doing topical and social commentary versus personal experience. And at that point, who's paying attention, that was when you had Sarah Palin, you had Barack Obama, you had gay marriage. You had, like, the country was dealing with issues, you know, and it was so much to talk about, and it was sharp. I did it at NYU. I had a university crowd that, you know, kids that knew what was going on. New York is great, but New York's a great comedy city because New York, you could talk about anything, and if it's funny, they'll laugh, and if it's not, they won't. But they'll never judge, like, oh, you shouldn't talk about that topic. They don't care. Like, New York is where you can do the threw the baby from the train joke if it's funny. They're like, man, that was funny how that baby bounced off the wall. That was hilarious. You know, New Yorkers don't care, so it's beautiful. By the way, I've never done a baby joke like that, so people don't start tweeting in. But if it's funny, did do a throw in a midget joke. Caught a little flack for that, but no, it's kicking a midget. But it was okay because they laughed.
And then historically incorrect.
My last one, and that was a one. It was my second Showtime special. Showtime was great. I did it at the Vic Theater in Chicago, which was an iconic theater, a good vibe. And okay, I'm going to be honest now. My publicist is looking at me like, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. I wish I'd had a little more prep time for that one. I was coming off a Canadian tour, and some of the material I couldn't do for the Canadians, so I didn't get to do it enough. You know, but then it's also the thing of we comics are always perfectionists, right? So people like, oh, that was funny, and I'm like, no, it wasn't.
Right.
But it was great. But yeah, given a second chance, I would have liked to run the set a few more times before I did it. Yeah. You know, but it went great, and the response was great.
I mean, and you could always do another one.
I'm hoping to, but it's going to be a while. Honestly, it's going to be a while because where I'm at now as a topical comedian in America, I'm tired of the same old thing. You know, racism is obviously a huge issue right now. Trump being elected is a big issue. I'm working on it. We're still trying to figure out how to make that funny, you know.
There's something there, and there's a lot. I think, like, once people get over the initial, like, okay, this is real, then, you know, it'll be easier to... and we see, and the other thing is, it's like, people are like, oh, you comics, no, you don't screw up and ask us to make you feel better. No, you suffer some pain first, and then we'll make you feel better. So, so this... but I want new topics to talk about. I want us to move on as a society, and we just don't. And that's the frustrating part about wanting to be topical, is that can we move on? You know, and we don't. Sadly, well, I mean, because I feel like a lot of people are just sheep, you know, and so like since everyone just kind of just in the same thing over, like no one wants to, you know, take the charge to lead everyone to like the new conversation or to the new, you know.
And maybe it'll be a generational thing. Maybe millennials, as they get a little older, will, you know, bring up something. Right now, you know, the problem with millennials is they're so PC, and you can't hurt their feelings. They have no natural defenses because they've never been attacked by predators. So they can, you know, they eat kale. They're not very strong. So you just, when you make fun of them, you're like, oh, I'm sorry.
No, but that's what you say. You say, no, suck it up.
You want to. Suck it up.
Take your unicycle and, you know,
take a hit. Just take a hit. Go vape.
Right. Oh, my gosh. That's just...
It's the most annoying thing. And it's hilarious. It's like, okay, so you're blowing, like you're sucking on an electronic chemical and blowing steam. Nah, that's not unhealthy. You'll be fine. Right. Yeah, okay. Right. See you in 10 years.
You've also done a lot of late night, you know.
Yes.
So so when you do late night, because this is one thing that I feel like a lot of comics, just want to know how to get on late night, and then what is that experience like? So even though Jay Leno doesn't have the show anymore, but Jay was
fantastic to me. Jay liked me, and Jay had me on the show. I think I did the show like 6 times. And then he used me as a correspondent a couple of times. But I also got to do, when Keenan had his late night show, I did Keenan's show. I did Conan back when it was in New York. You know, I did that. And I did a few others. You know, this way. And I'm fortunate that I'm kind of a setup punch guy, so I can pull my act apart. But this is how I describe it. It's like being on Sports Center, right? You take the highlights of your act. You can't show them the whole game. So you take the highlights. You take the best joke about, you know, about race. Then you take the best joke about dating. Then you take the best joke about travel, and you put them together and you just do those. That's how it works, because the set doesn't have to have that continuity that you do when you do a full 45 or an hour. It's a series of funny things. So that's what I learned in doing late night. Hit quick and hit hard, you know, just bang, 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 bang. Because you don't have the time to do, you're on for 4 minutes, right? So if you have a 2.5 minute joke, that's a long time for them not to be laughing. Yeah. Listening to you and like, all right, get to it. Right. Now, some people can do it and some are patient like that, but I like to, you know, bang it, bang, 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 bang. They said, I think Johnny Carson's thing was he wanted 4 jokes per minute. He wanted to laugh every 15 seconds, and that was the standard back then. But yeah, so that's what I learned about late night. It's a highlight film. Any short set, anything, because once you get used to headlining and doing 45 to an hour, when they say, okay, you got to do 3 minutes, you know, some come, well, I can't do 3 minutes. It's like, well, I can, you know, and Jamie Masada, who runs the Laugh Factory, you know, with that open mic, and you do 3 minutes, and people are like, wow, only 3 minutes. He told me one time, he said, if you can't be funny in 3 minutes, you won't be funny for 20. And it was like, okay, so you got to be able, you know, and I can do that. I can do anything from, I did 1 minute sets. There used to be a show called Make Me Laugh on Comedy Central. We had 1 minute to make a person laugh, to doing 1 hour specials. And I've done any amount of time in between. Yeah. And you learn it. You have to do it. It's part of the, but it's also fun. It's also, that's the fun of the challenge.
1 minute though, man.
Yeah, man, 1 minute. One on one. It was a game show. And then, one on one. You had 1 minute to make a person. Well, that was the trick. You had a minute to make the person laugh, one on one, and they were trying to not laugh. So if they didn't laugh, they would win the money. So you had to try to crack them. You know, it was a fun show. Yeah.
How do you know when a joke is TV ready?
That has changed so much now, because TV isn't network TV anymore. Right. So network TV, you know, back in the days, I wasn't around for Carson, but people used to polish their act for 2 years to get 4 minutes ready for Carson. Like, it had to be that sharp and that polished. It doesn't anymore, because cable, you're allowed to screw around and do stuff. It's TV ready when you do it on TV. Because here's the thing, and you know this, you're a comic, you'll always second guess it. No matter how hard they laugh, no matter how much they applaud, you walk off stage, oh man, I should have said red shoes. Damn, you know, and that's the comic. And you know, people who aren't comics don't understand that. But we always walk off thinking of the joke you didn't do, what you should have said, how you could have done this or done that. So it's TV ready when you do it on TV. It's just there. For me, once it's done, it's done. I leave it there. You know, I leave it there.
So now we got a few minutes left. You do a lot of road work. Yeah. And because I feel like it's a very vagabond lifestyle.
It is. It is.
And do you ever just want to just not go on the road?
Yeah, you get tired. 5-6 years ago was the first time I got tired of being on the road, because it's airport. Like Daniel Tosh, before he had his TV show, we crossed paths in an airport, right? And it was like, where are you coming from? And he was like, what difference does it make? It's Groundhog Day, right? You fly in Wednesday, morning radio Thursday, 1 show Thursday, 2 shows Friday, 2 Saturday, fly home Sunday. Then you go, where are you? Who cares where I'm at? Next Thursday, I'm going to be on the radio in the morning, so that's the life. But you put up with that to be on stage, because that's the love. The love is being on stage. Would I love to have a TV show and not have to go on the road all the time? Yeah, that'd be nice. But until you get that, you got to do the work. You know, and I still love being on stage. But travel, I tell people all the time, they pay me to travel. I tell jokes for free. Yeah. Airlines beat the shit out of me, and I'm platinum. Yeah. Because I fly every week. I fly 100,000 miles a year. Like, if you're in Group 4, I don't know how they treat you in Group 4. I'm like, look, they treat me bad. Yeah. If you're in Group 4, I think they just hitting you with a stick and making you sit down. What do? I don't know. Group 4 has never had overhead bin space. They just look at the overhead bin like, wow. Yeah. Well, it's the job. It's the job.
What would you say is the pros and cons especially like where you are now, right? So what are the pros and cons of your career right now?
Well, the good thing is I do make a living. I don't have a day job. I make a good living. I'm not rich. People think I'm rich. I'm not rich. I'm not close to rich. I guess I would be considered, the bills are paid. I would be considered maybe upper middle class. But but that's good, you know, to make that telling jokes is okay.
Yeah.
The cons, like I said, the travel part can be a negative. I've never been married. I've never had kids. I'm married to this. I heard Louis Black say it a long time ago. I'm married to this shit, you know. And it was like, yeah, Lou, I don't look at it as a trade-off. In other words, I love doing this so much that if I don't get that, I'm okay with it. But when young comics, like I'm thinking about getting married, I'm like, do it. Right. You know, I'm gonna have a kid. Yes, do it. Because then you have something real in your life beyond this stuff. So not like I'm sage or anything, but I've been doing this a long time, and young comics sometimes ask for advice, and I tell them, like, yeah, if you have an outlet away from this, like for me, it's cars and motorcycles and stuff, like that's my hobby. I get into it and all that, but you know, I don't feel like I missed anything not having a family. I love my nieces and nephews, and I get to spoil them, and you know,
that's good.
Taking mom on cruise gigs. Mom likes the cruise gigs and the casinos. Yeah. She likes those. My son's working at the casino. I'm not going to the show. I'm just gambling. But my son is there. She loves that, you know. So that kind of, and she gets to brag about me at the church. She loves when people at church saw me on TV. She didn't see me on TV, but they did.
Right.
And she's happy. So that kind of stuff is a gift. Yeah, the cons would be the travel. Sometimes you get frustrated. You know, you watch other people get theirs, and you're like, damn, I'm funnier than him. Every one of us has been guilty of seeing someone on TV or in a movie be like, what the hell?
Right.
But over time, you learn that it just is what it is.
Yeah,
you know, and at my best, sometimes you have to have friends who you can hate with. Right, you don't want to hate publicly, but you got your friends that late at night when you're hanging out at the diner or something after the show, you could just sit there and hate. You could just watch late night TV. That some bitch ain't funny. You heard that hack ass, you know, but you don't take that with you. I've known a few people who have been bitter, and I know a lot more who aren't, and I hopefully have learned from and stick with the ones who aren't, and just because at the end of the day, man, I get to go on stage and just talk. Like I had this guy. I love on Facebook when they come to your page. They, well, why don't you just do comedy and stick to, you know, not talk about politics or not having I said, listen, I get paid for my opinion.
Right.
People literally pay to hear my opinion, and you had the option of not coming to my page, because guess what? I'm never going to go to your page. I'm never going to know your opinion because I don't give a shit.
True. Yeah.
But people come to my, you know, so there's that kind of thing is nice, and I always say we're in the lottery business. You never know what's going to happen. You know, there are people who Billy Gardell is a great example. Billy was grinding and doing his thing, and Billy was like ready to pack up on Hollywood, you know, and then Mike and Molly came along, and boom, syndication money. Yeah. Billy ain't got to work no more.
No.
You know, Billy ain't got to work. Billy kids going to private school.
Yeah.
You know, and but he's an example also of a great thing happening to a great guy.
Right.
You know, Dr. Ken Jeong, old friend of mine. I knew him when he was, you know, starting out in the clubs and grinding. Big star, great things happening to a great guy. Yeah. So it does happen. You never know when. And Billy, Ken, you heard me mention both of you. If any opportunity, I'll be the bouncer, the barber, the guy. I'm always looking.
Yeah. So now you have a podcast.
Yes.
That you do, and you talk about everything.
Who's paying attention? Because and the reason I talk about that, and the reason that's my brand, is because the media has dropped the ball.
No.
The media, and you're not old enough to remember this, Nick. I'm not kidding. The media used to go after people. We wouldn't have had this presidential cycle in the 70s. You know, even like I was born in the 60s. I was a kid, but even they wouldn't have tolerated it. Reporters used to ask questions, and they'd be like, "You're lying." Like they would stop. No, that's not true. You know, they don't do that anymore. So it's fallen to the comics to do that. So when I say who's paying attention, it's like who's paying attention to what's really going on, or how stupid some of this is, or whatever. And unfortunately, it's the comics. You know, now we've always had to do it, right? Comedians, I love the jesters. I have tattoos of jesters because we've always been the ones that spoke truth to power.
Right.
We used to, you know, when there was a king, the jester was the only one allowed to make fun of the king. Now, if it wasn't funny, the king would chop his head off, which I love that. It's like, yeah, so you're allowed to do it, but the stakes are high.
Yeah.
But comics will always do that. We'll always be the ones to test society, to push it. George Carlin, probably the greatest ever at doing that.
So good. Yeah.
But there are so many more. You know, Chappelle does it in a brilliant way. Chris Rock does it in a brilliant way. Louis Black does it in a brilliant way, where you question society.
Yeah.
That's our job.
Yeah.
You know, and the reporters are supposed to do it, and they stopped doing it.
Yeah.
So that's what my podcast is. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not. You know, and it's also a lot of times it's behind the joke. So if I do a joke about, you know, gay marriage, but then on the podcast I'll talk for 10 minutes about whatever issue inspired the joke, and this is why this is ridiculous or whatever, you know.
All right.
Yeah.
Closing up.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to leave
By the way,
people-
you're very good at this because
Thank
you
you.
allow me to just ramble on with my answers, and you ask real questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, because, you know, the show isn't for me.
no, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah.
it. Definitely.
What would you say is probably the biggest lesson that you've learned in your career this far?
That's a great question because there have been so many lessons. That's a great question. There's so many things I've learned. The simple lesson, way back when I started, I had a day job. I drove trucks for Power Rangers for the kids show.
Oh, wow.
Right? And the assistant director of the second unit who did all the stunts, whenever I'd go out, I got a gig tonight, do the funny stuff. You know, and I was like, yeah, good advice.
Yeah.
You know, that advice has always stuck with me.
Yeah.
Trust yourself. Trust yourself. You know, you go out there and you can't overthink it.
Yeah.
You have to just trust, like, this is what I want to say. This is funny, you know, and even if it's not, so what? You did it.
Right.
You know, you took a chance on it. So yeah, that's the one. But I've been given a lot of good advice.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I would say trust yourself and be funny. You know, because some people, they get, like, I had a friend and his career was kind of stagnant. He was good, you know, and I asked a producer, I said, and he said, he's too busy trying to get a message across. He forgot to be funny. Like, you're a comic, you got to be funny. And when you forget to be funny, now you're a pundit. Now you're another talking head on CNN or some, you know. Right. You're a comic, so be funny. You can have something to say, but be funny saying it. Don't forget that people want to laugh, and you almost have more impact doing it that way.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and then another valuable lesson I got was fly as much as you can with one airline and achieve status, so that you don't have, because Group 4 is not good.
Where can people find you? What shows you have coming up next?
I am AlonzoBodden.com, AlonzoBodden.com, or you can just Google Comic Alonzo, and it's going to be me and Cristela Alonzo, the two that are going to come up, so you'll know which one is me.
Yeah.
And so my schedule's always on my website. I'm on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Instagram, I have to use ZoFunny. Somebody took my name. Like when I say people think you're rich, like you gonna buy your name? I'm like, no, no, you can have it. I'm gonna make up a fake name, you know, like so. But yeah, I'm on the social media at Alonzo Bodden, and I'm always working. To this weekend I'm going to, my next gig is in Carlsbad, California. Nice. November 19th, I'm doing the Carlsbad Theater, West Coast Funnies, which is great. And then Thanksgiving weekend, I'm going to be in Denver at the Denver Improv, which is not on Thanksgiving night, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So, you know, after the leftovers, come out and laugh, Denver.
There you go.
Where you at, Denver? Come out and laugh.
There you go.
Black Friday, you're shopping. The club's at the mall.
Thank you,
Thank you, Nick. This is fantastic, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. No, it was great. It was great. Thank you guys for watching. You know you can go all over the internet and find me at the Nick Perdue. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
From executives Kevin Undergaro, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio, Instagram me @KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in. The views expressed here are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.